"3,000 Years of Longing." 3,000 Years of Longing is the new George Miller film. George Miller, who hasn't directed movies since Mad Max Fury Road, which I love. Mad Max Fury Road. I thought Mad Max Fury Road is was one of the best movies of the year it came out, and was also, I think it's also one of the best movies of the decade. I think it's absolutely a fantastic film. After this, I believe he's doing like a sequel prequel to Mad Max Fury Road, which focused on the Furioso character, where it's played by Anna Taylor-Joy, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's going to be his next one after this one. But 3,000 Years of Longing, so starring Idris Elba and Tilda Swinton. Idris Elba, who plays a djinn in this movie, which is basically just a genie. Basically, that's what it is. And you have Tilda Swinton, who plays a scholar. She's taking a trip to Istanbul, going through the shopping market, things like that, looking at various things. And then she finds this very nice bottle that she's drawn to. And it's like, I want this. I want to take this. And then takes it home, starts rubbing on the bottle, just like how you do with the genie. You rub it a couple times, and then boom, the genie kind of pops out. And that's what happens here. She rubs it a couple times, and boom, a big ass, sexy black man pops out the bottle in the form of Idris Elba. There, and he basically tells her everything about, of course, the traditional stuff you have with the genie. Is like you get 3 wishes, and it lays down which is important when you do with a movie with wishes. You got to lay down the groundwork of how the wishes work. You know what I mean? And everything, he establishes all the rules, because that was like one of the big problems, like Wonder Woman 84. It's like you can just wish for anything you want, and it seems like there's no real rules to any of this stuff. So this movie establishes the rules of like you can't do the trick of wish for infinite wishes. You can't bring somebody back to life. Basically, if you've seen Aladdin, it's basically the same rules as that. Basically, so he basically establishes all that. And she's trying to decide, what she's supposed to wish for and how she can use these different wishes. And listening to the Idris Elba character, she's like, well, tell me a little bit of stories about all the times people have ever used wishes. And a lot of the movie is just Idris Elba and Tilda Swinton talking about, the djinns, who's Idris Elba's character, is about his experience and about like all the times that he's ever been used and all the people who've ever, he was in service of. And they are very interesting stories, but that's what you're mainly going to get of Idris Elba and Tilda Swinton sitting in a hotel room, and him just recounting these, stories to her, kind of telling these different stories to her. I thought they were visually, the movie's gorgeous. I think a lot of stuff that you see here it looks really good. Like when they tell the stories of he's telling them, a lot of use of color is also very gorgeous and beautiful. A lot of different kind of weirdness is also here as well. Typical sometimes of George Miller, who has a very interesting filmography. If you kind of look through it, a lot of kind of different varied stuff. And you also have very talented actors in Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba who know how to do this material very well, which I imagine like just maybe somewhat of the uniqueness of it and the personalness of it is kind of what drew them to the story, because you have that here it's a story about telling stories, like with Tilda Swinton's character, she's a scholar of, learning history and how stories are constantly retold throughout history, like the modern myths now, she brings up like superheroes, like she even has like when she's doing like a talk to, I think it's like maybe like a university or something like that. In the background, you'll see like Marvel and DC characters about like the modern myths now told as, opposed to back then of telling stories of like Zeus and the Greek gods and things like that. And, she has this character here. She meets Idris Elba, who has lived through many, many years, thousands and thousands of years, seeing all the history. And one of the first stories he tells is of being in service to Queen of Sheba, who I was trying to find the actress's name who played the Queen of Sheba, but my God, that woman was absolutely stunning. Really, really gorgeous. I was trying to find the name of her. I was trying to see on IMDb, but it was like, wow. But when they do that story and when they show everything like with the kind of with the desert and these temples and everything like that, it looks absolutely gorgeous. I thought that looked really great. What were kind of your thoughts on the movie there, Mar?
So my initial thoughts on this, I like to echo everything that you said. I think that this movie is absolutely stunning. I think George Miller has kind of proven, like you said, like looking at his filmography, like this man is like pushing 80 years old, and to see like I remember everyone talking about like Mad Max Fury Road when that came out, about like just like an almost 80-year-old man putting out Mad Max Fury Road and kind of doing it just like so well. And I like that because usually like when people like reach that age, you kind of don't you don't really do films like that you want to do anymore. You end up doing like what society wants you to do. It's like you're supposed to do like the war movie, or the kind of like the kind of like the romantic comedy, and just kind of like just very slow and not really interesting movies, just because it's like, and in a way it's kind of ageist the way we kind of like pigeonholed uh uh like directors
Mm.
like that, like. And I'm really glad that like George Miller is kind of like making the films that he wants to make. Now, is 3,000 Years of Longing like my favorite film like of the year? No, it's not. Like I walked away from this film kind of like wanting to know more, but not wanting to see this movie again,
Mm.
because like it's right around 90 minutes, and to be honest, like I kind of thought this movie kind of dragged a little bit.
Mm.
And it's mainly because I think that another film kind of, I'm not sure if you've seen this film like earlier this year. It's not really about stories the way George Miller kind of takes this movie, but Good Luck to You, Rio Grande,
I
like
have not seen
kind
that.
of like it, pretty much the same concept what George Miller is doing here, where it's just two, like Good Luck to You, Rio Grande is more about like just kind of just two two people from two different generations kind of discovering each other's bodies and just kind of like talking. Like it's really like it's kind of like a combination, like this movie is kind of like a combination between that movie and also just and uh shoot, what's that, uh My Dinner with Andre, kind of like just two people talking in a room and just kind of sharing each other's stories.
Mm.
uh Kind of minus the sex part, because Good Luck to You, Grant has like a lot of like sexual content in it. But
Mm.
well, this one does too at the end of the movie. But I don't know. I just think it's kind of like an interesting film, just because I did a little bit of reading. Like he did make this film like during quarantine, and I kind of want to know. I could kind of see a little bit where his mind was at during quarantine, and just like
Mm.
him kind of making a movie about stories and like what stories mean to us, and like what when does like a story actually end, and just like I, I found that interesting on that level. But I think like what this film is kind of like begging us to do is to rewatch it again. I don't really have like I don't really have like a want or need to like watch this again, just because it was just kind of like a chore to watch. It just
Mm.
that's just my opinion though.
A chore to watch. Oh wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I kind of see where you're coming from, because I mean, not to say you can have a really fantastic movie with characters just in one place. There's tons of great examples of that. Like you brought up My Dinner with Andre. A more recent example I bring up is something like One Night in Miami, which really only really takes place in like the hotel room with all those guys, and that's the movie with Regina King, who directed that movie, and it's
Mhm.
about like real life. It's like based on kind of like a fictional event, possibly, but it also has stars like real life figures like Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X and people like that, and Jim Brown, and it's basically just takes place in them in just one area, and it's, I think, a phenomenal movie. I think it's one of my favorite movies of the decade. So you can have a very interesting movie there, and when the back and forth between Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba, just their conversation is, I think, a really great. Just about them like talking about life, talking about love, relationships, desire. What do you really want? What is, because he's like, my whole thing is like, I can't, to me, my obligation is to, fulfill your heart's desire. Your three wishes has to be from your heart's desire. You can't just, wish for something as frivolous as like, yeah, I wish to have a new pair of shoes or something like that. It's like, what truly is in your, heart's desire? You know what I mean? What do you want? And you see Tilda Swinton as a person who, you know, from the title has this longing, this longing of kind of compassion of someone to be with, and she, especially for someone like her who her whole thing is being a scholar and looking through history, and you have a person who's lived through thousands of years who can talk about all this different history and all this different has all this different knowledge of it is also very fascinating and titillating for her. And you also kind of see some things of like looking through his past of like a common thing is like he's only been in service to women. Like usually women have been the ones that have picked up his bottle and have used him and have wished for things. It's a big common thing through all these kind of different stories, which I thought was kind of interesting. When it comes to, I think the weakest part is the third act, just because it kind of feels like, oh, that's it. You know what I mean? Like it just kind of feels like it's kind of over there. Like when they kind of leave and she goes back to her home country, which is London. It just kind of feels like, oh, okay. I mean, all right. There's like some little bit more stuff there, and it just kind of feels like it's kind of over. So I was kind of felt like the third act was kind of very lackluster there. And I think of course, if you got Idris Elba in the movie, there's obviously going to be some sex appeal there. Obviously, like she's obviously interested in his mind, but also it's Idris Elba too. You know what I mean? Like you see Tilda Swinton kind of thirsting there too a little bit, and it's funny that you see kind of in this movie like she has some neighbors back in her home country when she goes back home in London who are like basically they're just bigots or whatever, and you see them as racist, but you see Idris Elba when he shows up to the door, they're even like, ooh shit, you know what I mean? Like they're complete racists, but even with him, they're just like still they're like dumbfounded, like damn. So I thought so. It does good at also doing some humorous moments as well. I thought was nice, and George Miller, like I said, he takes always some different directions, and some kind of different choices in his. You'll see in his filmography, like this is a guy who did Mad Max Fury Road, but he also did Happy Feet. He also did Babe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's like I like somebody like that. He's willing to do kind of different stuff like that. And with this movie. Yeah, I kind of see your point about it kind of dragging some, and it's only an hour and 48 minutes. But yeah, I mean, it's like, oh, he's just going to tell these stories kind of back to back to back. You know what I mean? Like, okay, we're not going to have like even a break in between them of just seeing Tilda Swinton and him do something. It is kind of just back to back to back. We're going to be telling these stories like, oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, what we kind of, yeah.
It's just like one of those things. Like I think I would kind of agree with you about how the third act just kind of was there. Like it didn't really land with like pretty much like any like substance or anything like that, which was kind of a disappointment for me, just because throughout like the movie, like they kind of drilled it into your head, saying like Idris Elba is this genie, where pretty much every single person that he served always asked for like 2 wishes, but never finished to hit the third wish, which kind of imprisoned Idris Elba's character, just because like it's kind of like that whole thing, just like kind of like when should something end? Like when should you end a story? And it's like Idris Elba was always kind of like in that gray area where it was just kind of like, well, he served these people for 2 wishes, but they didn't complete like their arc and stuff like that. And the way that Tilda Swinton's character, like the way their relationship kind of ended, like with their arc, like she wished for her, spoiler, she wished for her final, like her final wish. And the way that kind of landed, I was just kind of like, well, that's kind of what I expected a little bit. And it's just kind of like, for some reason, there was no emotion there. And I thought that there was going to be more emotion with, especially with what they were building up to. Does that make sense? It's like,
yeah, it just, like I said, the punch at the end. I mean, this really wasn't much there. I just felt like it just wasn't really a whole lot there. I mean, it was still a sweet ending. I thought it was still fine, but just I don't know. I wanted more from it, I think, than what it gave me.
And you mentioned like those 2 older ladies that were basically bigots at the end. I thought that was a little weird that they just kind of threw that in there, where it's just like, why are these people here? Like we didn't mention them at all, and then you throw them into the third act just for like, oh, people got to have some bigots in there. It's like, people hate black people. Got to remember that. I'm just like, okay. I'm like,
yeah. It just seemed like, I guess you could say, they kind of were kind of just thrown in there a little bit. Yeah, that was kind of weird. I guess I don't know. Maybe they were thrown in there because I was listening to another review. It's from oneofus.net, and somebody was mentioning maybe they were thrown in there because maybe you could have some problematic nature in this movie. Obviously, Idris Elba being a black man and Tilda Swinton being a white woman, and the fact that she he's kind of a servant to her in a way, and you can kind of say that maybe. So I guess you got to have this scene in here maybe to show that Tilda Swinton's character is not maybe a racist character or something like that.
yeah,
Maybe, I don't know, maybe that was the point of it. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. I guess they just do kind of
yeah,
just pop up like bigot gophers, I guess.
yeah. Just racist old white women
Yeah.
in London. Just like,
Yeah.
yeah, we need a spin-off movie with them.
Just just like the new
we don't.
the new characters from like replace them in Sesame Street, make them the new what was it?
Oh my god.
Just hanging off the balconies, just saying racist shit to all the minorities that walk by.
Yeah. That's bad. We don't want that. We don't want that.
But you said you love the visuals of the movie. What else were you kind of loving about the movie?
I just love the visuals and just like the simplistic nature of it. Like when I was comparing it to Good Luck to You, Rio Grande, that wasn't like a knock on it, or like I don't think like this is a bad movie at all. It's just it's kind of unfortunate that I've already kind of seen a movie like this, kind of like with two characters just kind of talking with each other and discovering more about each other. And I feel like the themes that they're trying to go with about like we should learn from each other and just talk and just conversate and like learn from the stories that we tell. I feel like that Good Luck to You, Rio Grande did it on a more personal level. Like it was kind of hard for me to just connect with everything because with all the just fantasy elements and stuff like that. Like just like Idris Elba's ears, like Idris Elba's ears, like that's kind of weird makeup, to be honest. I thought they could have done better there. And I was kind of hoping like with spoilers for this movie, so just tune out for maybe like a couple minutes or something like that.
Okay.
But like when she makes her final wish and she's like, "Oh, I want you to be like happy anywhere, like in anywhere that you're happy or whatever," like in like your world or my world. I was kind of hoping that he would kind of like transform into human, and like I don't know. It's just like
you wanted Aladdin, like when you.
Yeah, in a way, I wanted Aladdin in a way, but I just think I don't know. For some reason, I just thought like that prosthetic like makeup was just a little odd. Like everything else, I thought was fine. It's just like I don't know. It was just kind of disturbing for me. That's just me though.
I don't know. I mean, the look of him is kind of interesting because he's got kind of like those ears, like those Vulcan type ears, and then he's kind of got like what you see on his hands. It's like a mix of like kind of like gold on his hands, and then the palms of his hands have like red on them, like red kind of like sand or paint on them. It looks like, So I think that was kind of interesting. I don't know the look of him, and then like with his beard, he's kind of got like a red or kind of orange streak in his goatee and everything like that. I just said you want to make him kind of look otherworldly because he's like this different kind of spiritual kind of creature. Yeah. So I thought that was I thought the look of him was okay. I thought for the most part.
Yeah.
And what's final thoughts rating for it there, Marley?
I think like I would give it like a tune in just because I think that like when you first see the title for this movie, I feel like it's gonna like not to use the wrong terminology, but people are going to tune out. Like when they see 3,000 Years of Longing, oh, I don't want to see a movie like that. So I'll be very interested to see like what the box office numbers for this is, just because just reading that title, like or just saying it right now, it seems like it's going to be a flop. So I hope people should go out. I want people to tune in for this because I think it's a movie that everyone should see. Just at least once, just so they can kind of experience like George Miller as like an artist and like a filmmaker. But walking out of it, I think that this is probably going to be a very polarizing movie. You're going to have people that are going to love it, and then you're going to have people that are going to like absolutely like hate on it.
Yeah,
But
probably because right now it's like on Metacritic, I see it's like 57%, and then on Rotten Tomatoes like 65%. So yeah,
it was like 69% yesterday on Rotten Tomatoes, but
yeah. So it's
so
yeah,
kind of like
yeah,
Thor: Love and Thunder territory.
yeah. But I think it's a better movie than Thor: Love and Thunder. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could see how some people really love it because I saw some people talk about it and they were like, "Yeah, it's awesome," and the movie visually looks stunning, and I love the performances and everything like that. I've seen a lot of people kind of bounce that around, and I'm in the same kind of camp there. I will say, maybe you see this trailer, and maybe you go kind of looks kind of wacky, kind of crazy. Maybe you'll get that sense from it. It's really not, you know what I mean? Yeah, it is visually kind of interesting, but it's not like anything that's too crazy just story wise. It's kind of telling like these little kind of different stories in one movie, these little kind of mini stories, a little kind of in just one. And like I said, with the kind of lackluster kind of third act for me, I thought that was kind of weak. But it's,
Like,
oh yeah, go ahead.
just one thing I'd like to add to that is like I watched the trailers. Like, I highly recommend people don't watch the trailer for this. Like, if they want like expectations for this film, the trailer totally does not sell this movie at all. Like, it's like you said, it's very kind of like uh it kind of whoever edited this trailer probably was going off of Mad Max on how kind of like energetic it was and just kind of like in your face.
Yeah.
It I totally agree with you. It's very kind of like toned back and just kind of like just a kind of a relaxing story. So don't watch the trailer. Like
Yeah.
like lead it before seeing this movie, just because you will be you'll be disappointed, or I wouldn't say disappointed, just kind of like misdirected. It
Yeah. Because a little trailer will make it seem like it's like maybe one big acid trip or something like that, or like it's gonna
mhm.
be one crazy thing that happen after the next, and it's like it's not really like that when you watch the movie. A good trailer though. I think it's a
Mhm.
good. I mean, I understand you want to get as many people as possible to come in to go see it and to draw people
Mhm.
into it. You said will it get kind of maybe crushed in the theaters or how well it will do. I don't know. I mean, because this week is really not really much that's big out because we're gonna do Invitation that came out this week, and then this movie also came out. I think it'll do better with
Mhm.
something like Invitation maybe, but I don't know. Invitation is like one of those smaller horror movie type things, and usually people go see those just why not? You know what I mean? Those usually make their
Mhm.
money back pretty well. And then I don't know if people are still gonna go see Dragon Ball Super, which was pretty big for that was also what movie that kicked Idris Elba's ass last week because he also had a movie Beast come out last week when that movie did way better than Beast. So I don't know. I'd be
This
interested.
movie's way better.
Oh,
This
go.
movie's way better than Beast. This movie.
I think this movie is 3,000 Years is more interesting than Beast. I think it's more of an interesting
Yeah,
movie than it is.
yeah. It's like I had fun with Beast, but it's it's just like I don't know, just not it I don't know.
Yeah, like Beast is
Like
more
it's more interesting.
straightforward. I think. I mean,
Hmm.
not to say this movie's that complicated, but it's more, stuff they do with the storytelling. I like better in
Hmm.
3,000 Years of Longer than in Beast, because Beast is just like, hey, there's a badass lion, and the lion wants to come eat people. And it's basic.
It's a rogue lion that doesn't. I'll stop you right there. The lion and Beast doesn't eat people. It just kills people for sport,
Yeah,
which was kind of like it's a predator. Don't predators like kill to like eat? And I'm just like, but it's rogue. It's a rogue. I'm like, no,
yeah,
I'm done.
yeah. But with this movie, give my final rating for it. I give it a tune in. I'd say, yeah, I think you may have a good time watching it. I did, but it kind of maybe depends on what type of moviegoer you are. Yeah, I mean, I like to see kind of interesting kind of movies like this. Just like I said, with the storytelling of it, I think is very good. The performances in it, I think, are very good. The message of it, I think, is also very good, and just some of the discussions about just relationships and longing, to make a call back to the movie, I guess, title of it. It's an interesting little feature that you might see. So for that, I give it kind of a lowish kind of tune in for me. would kind of be my thoughts on it.